We are 7 members, and each of us, or sometimes 2 or 3 of us, take up 1 or 2 areas specific that we work on. So today, the very first one was a team which was set up, started by the working committee to update the ROR. A lot of work was done, and I would like to invite Selvaraj to come and give a short presentation. A couple of things can go rapidly, a couple of things we can go in detail. Selvaraj, please come.
Yeah, the ROR exercise was really interesting. And it took a lot of effort by maybe around 30 people have gone around. And we have mostly gone around on odd times to get the people at their home, like early morning at 7 o'clock, or at the evening, or during lunchtime. And I would say I was really happy and touched by many families when you go early morning to their house. They were very happy. They were very happy to receive you, offer whatever they were having for the breakfast, idli or coffee. But I was also taken back. Even some of my friends, when we entered there or tried to get into their house, they said, "We're not sure of this exercise. We don't trust, and we don't trust." They didn't say they don't trust us, but it was difficult to. Anyway, in overall, we did manage to do the work to the best of us going around. And the informations that we got, there was lots of names and people who had left Auroville. There were a lot of corrections had to be done. And it was not, there was around 2,500 in the master list. Right now, when you'll see the results soon, it's less than 2,000 people actually should be on the list. The foundation is actually, again, taking another another time to verify things and taking time to do that. But a lot of people were asking the question, in Auroville, should we do this exercise? Why should we do this? In any organizations, anywhere, or any country, there's always a review looking at the list of the residents and making correction. Even in the village, it happens year after year. And this real task had taken only after 2005. And there's about 500 people, more on the list. So soon you'll all get the real facts and understand what actually went through. Thank you.
A brief reminder, if you want the chit, the paper and the pen, please raise your hand. And I also request if couple of you can assist me with the distribution of the chits. Sunny or Arun, anybody, please. It will be great.
All right, for the next 2 topics, I invite Arun to come up for the annual reports and the chairman's invitation.
Hello. So just adding a little bit to the ROR, it was also a very good exercise where in this point in time, we interacted with a lot of residents and a lot of small misunderstanding we had was solved. And this I saw as a very positive outcome in this point in time. And regarding the annual reports, so as every year working committee collects all the reports and submits to the Auroville Foundation, we nearly got 90% of all the reports, but 10% are pending, 10%. So most probably we'll contact them again, or foundation will directly reach out and ask for the report. The recent addressal of the governing board where the chairman asked inputs from the residents. So more than 50 were collected regarding development, education, and how to improve the RA. So we have forwarded, and most probably they will be contacting and give an update. Thank you.
Okay, that was quick. Now I invite Joseba. Can you please come up for the visas?
Well, about the visas, you have the data on the screen, so you can see the data explained by themselves. Have been 93 applications requested. The majority of them has been granted the time that they were requesting. Only 66 have received 1 year, and 2 have received less than that. So in general, we can say this data indicate that the process has been going well, and only a small amount of data can be controversial or whatever, but most of them has been done positively. Apart of that, also we have made some changes in the organization, how to present the applications, how to respond, because the process was not very efficient in general. And then we have changed the system in such a way that you present in the working committee at the beginning the application. We will do all the work to analyze the things and filter all the information given. When that is completed, we present to the foundation, they do their work, and then they will send directly to the resident service, the letters, whatever is the request. And then the resident service will do the work of updating, sending information to Chennai, filtering whatever problem has been also at that level, calling the people and give the letters and everything. So we believe that these changes are going to be more positive. You will deal all time with Aurovillians. You don't need to go to the foundation for anything. And in that way, we believe that can go the process faster, more efficient, and more fair, we can say. So these are the things that are going at the level of the visas. And yeah, if somebody has some question after, you can request.
Oops. Wrong direction. Huh? No. Okay. So now I'll ask Tina to come up. One back. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's this way. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Here we are. All right. Tina, come.
Hello. There have been some court cases made against the foundation, 2 court cases, which have been dismissed. Thank you very much. Okay. So one was from Natasha Story, a writ petition, and she challenged the membership of ATDC, and it was rejected and dismissed by Madras High Court on 13/10 last year. And the second one was from Namrita Gauthier, a wife of François. Same thing, she challenged the membership of FAMC. And that was so clear that they themselves withdrew the case, and it was dismissed and withdrawn at the same time in December, middle of December last year. So these 2 court cases are over, no more. Thank you.
Yeah. Next person in our team, Shrimoy, could you come up for Oronnam?
So basically the whole story is there in number 6. The land board, along with some members of working committee, went to inspect the Oronnam land, and they discovered this guest who was planning to build a temple there of Radha Krishna temple. And somehow she had been given the impression that it is possible to build a temple and have all her singing and all that one does in a temple. So we told her it's not allowed, but she went on, and at one point some other members of working committee and land board, and along with Mr. Madi, went to Orvannam and cleared the place and gave her a notice that she has to leave, and she has left. So the matter is solved. So.
If I may just add something there, there were basically 3 points we were looking at. Is that how is it possible that somebody just starts a temple in the middle of Auroville land without any permissions and without being told that they needed permissions? And the fact, so we, sent them a long list of what the mother had said about religion and religious rituals and all that. So I think all that had its own effect. There we are. So, okay, commemorative program for the 150th. As you all know, the program at UNESCO was abruptly cancelled or postponed. So this happened in December, which was a virtual unveiling of the Sri Aurobindo stamp for the 150th and the coin by the Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi. And this program was organized by the Ministry of Culture. They held this in Pondicherry. And it was interesting that it brought together Auroville, it brought together the ashram, it brought together also the Sri Aurobindo Society. So each grouping made a very short presentation of what each of these organizations were and how they were working with the work of Sri Aurobindo, with the vision of Sri Aurobindo. It was a very pleasant, a bit chaotic, but nevertheless a pleasant event. And it also gave us the opportunity to present Auroville's report of whatever had happened since August 2021 to the Minister of Culture, because he himself was there. And they had been funding the different events in Auroville. Yeah. Who is doing visits? You are doing visits. Okay.
Auroville has always been under the Ministry of Education for funds, for development, everything. Ministry of Education has to give approval for whatever, our governmental grants and all that. And so the Minister of Education, Sri Dharmendra Pradhan, suddenly came for a visit to Auroville. It was his first visit, and he was happily surprised. He was so surprised to get an experience of Auroville. He was very happy to have a little, he was shown the exhibition, he was given a little bit of a presentation by the groups, he was shown around. He was very happy to experience Auroville and said he would come back soon, and he said he will have his full support for the development of Auroville. So that was a very nice, supportive, positive visit. And the second visit was just recently, a week or 10 days ago. The Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, his name is Mr. Shivraj Singh Chaudham. He also came for the first time, just on a side visit, very short, but was happily surprised to have an experience of Auroville. And both visits were very nice visits. Thank you.
If there are any developments on that, I think TDC might have something to say, right? Okay, now there's this question which is going around, which is an FIR against 32 people. So I'd like, Selvaraj to come up.
Yeah, there is a FIR filed against 32 people. This is of the land board staff and one member from the land board and another member from the working committee, and rest it's Aurovillians, other Aurovillians. And we have taken this and we have talked to the secretary and also written a letter to her to take this up. First, to take an anticipatory bail, then later quash the FIR in the High Court. So she has agreed to follow up on this. The other thing, on the Aubrey Evergreen encroachment by PKS, on the 31st, we are hoping there will be an injunction order pronounced by the court. This has been going on for last 4 or 5 months to get this injunction order. So you are waiting for the 31st of this month to see what happens. Yeah, thank you.
See, one member is not present today, Partha, because he had to go and attend to an emergency case. So I'll take on the next one. Other side, yeah. Oh. All right, okay. Now, we've given you the small, quick reports. And after the ROR especially, to see that we were not what we were imagining, we were much smaller as a community, and to see how much work there is and how short-staffed we are, and how much we depend. You know, like there's about almost 10,000 people servicing less than 3,000 people, which is a bit absurd. So it is time for us really to grow. And obviously to grow for Auroville means the ability to receive funds, ability to receive people, which implies many things within the city which have to grow. And we came across this, which is part of a conversation. And it's not, it is actually the mother's very first conversation about Auroville. And somebody says, yeah, but you know, we are getting this funds and that fund. She says, no, you know, we're getting these small bits of money. The government will give something. People will give something. Right now, the government is giving something much more. But it takes massive sums. It takes billions to build a town. So with that, you know, if we take that in, and then we have to say, okay, so how do we go about that? So one of the first things as working committee, TDC will talk about the city, how to go through that. But the first thing we need is people. And we see that there are many roadblocks within our processes, which is not easing the ability of people to come in. Or those who are coming in don't really have a grasp on what Auroville is. And that also needs to be, you know, we have to help all that to happen. So, yeah. So we are looking at, we're calling it future partnerships, because Auroville is all about collaboration within ourselves, with each other, with people outside, everything. So we are at present, it took us a little time again, because all this had to be thrashed out. We are working, this is the first project we are taking up as a joint project with Working Committee, TDC, FAMC, SAVI, volunteers, and also others, different people. There's Tuan involved. There are different people who come with different kinds of expertise on the topic. So the first stage is we're kind of setting out an invitation, which will go out, which we want to appeal to all those different categories, which is the international institutions and embassies for sure, then the universities, to get the younger, you know, output, because we realize people don't really know much, or they're hearing a lot of very conflicted things right now. Then the industries, we have an industrial zone, and there are people who actually want to help. Then all the Sri Aurobindo centers. There's so many people who are keen to know more, or they are, you know, to participate in a different way. And of course, the government of India and other related organizations. So the idea is that within a year or so, high ambition is to aim for getting 1,000 people. Now, if 1,000 people come, okay, we can organize a nice program to receive them. But then what? Where are they going to stay? Where are they going to work? If there are kids who come, what about education? So all that has to now work in tandem. So we have to think in terms of temporary processes to let that happen, and we have to think of long-term processes. So as these people come, we can create temporary accommodation and things like that, but we have to immediately start on long-term possibilities for people to come and live and just basically ease their coming into Auroville and give them this sense of the adventure that Auroville is, the joy of participating, all of that, and everything that the vision contains. Somehow to know that. And we find that a lot of volunteers have no clue that Auroville is meant to be a city, which is sad, because there's so much potential for them to come, and they come with energy. So for them to participate with that energy. Okay, I'm going a lot of blah blah. So we have a last topic. Yes, right. Okay, so this is around the corner. As you all know, this year, India has been chosen as the leader, is leading the G20. Is that right? Yes. Is hosting, is carrying the presidency of the G20 organization. So, through the year, we expect that there will be different groupings of the G20 delegations who will go to different cities in India, and there has been a list. Now, unexpectedly, because of Sri Aurobindo's 150th, Auroville and Pondicherry have been plugged in together. Earlier, we thought we might be named under Tamil Nadu, but that didn't happen. Tamil Nadu has much more to handle, so we have been put in that slot. So on the 30th, they will be in Pondicherry for most of the day, and on the 31st, which is a Tuesday, they will be here for half a day. And so as you see, this is going to be one of the largest high-level delegation of such a nature that will come. You know, the mother in 1968, she said that in 12 years, we won the Olympics. And what does that mean? In 12 years, the Olympics needs a whole city, it needs all the infrastructure, it needs everything. We don't have that. So we are having this as a first time, just at the moment when we are thinking how to grow, where to get help from. So these guys are coming. So let's, we reach out to them. And the only thing for us, I would like, Srimoy, before we conclude, do you want to say a little bit about the places? Okay. So basically, they will actually come to the international zone. It's half a day. It's a large group. We'll have to divide them and take them around so they don't get crowded in one corner. So it'll basically be different venues in the international zone and Matri Mandir, of course. So we're giving them quite a lot of space and time to experience Matri Mandir and different areas. And then there will be a presentation. They will have lunch, they will go to the boutique, do some shopping, and they'll go home. That's the idea. And so, because this is happening at a national scale, we have to follow certain national protocols. So you will see already on the roads, things are being cleared. There will be banners going up. There will be enhanced security for a couple of days until the 31st. So all this we'll have to kind of deal with until it comes and goes. And on the 31st itself, most probably Auroville itself will be closed to visitors for security reasons, for that just one day, basically. So that's about it. And whatever other developments we need to inform you about, we'll just keep doing that. Right now, we're just kind of finalizing what are the things which will happen. And, if they gather here, there's only so many people it can handle, the space can handle. So we were just thinking how many people we can actually invite from the community. So all that is being worked out. We are working it out with Pondi. So we had the collector of Pondi, the chief secretary of Pondi, because it's all happening in tandem, what they are doing, what we are doing. So that's basically it. So that's, I think, up from us. Thank you.
Wait. Thank you, Anu. A gentle reminder to keep your phones on silent mode, please. And on a lighter note, Anu, Olympics is happening right now in Desh Shakti in a smaller form. And Anu, may I request you to just go through the presentation, a quick 1-minute recap for the ones who have joined us later. And if you have any questions as an afterthought, Sunny is there. Please ask your question. You can just go through it once more. Quick 12 points of yours. And then I invite
All right, I'll just...
Sindhuja from ATDC after your quick recap is over.
11 and 12 was how do we grow? And for that, we are working joint team, TDC and FAMC, who will come up with more, on how to receive more people and who to reach out to invite more people to come, to create a program for them, to create accommodation, to create work, just to create a whole life in which they can start to participate. So that is one.
You don't have the presentation?
I don't have the presentation.
Can you please put the presentation again?
So I can just say.
Yeah, please. And also, people are joining us through live stream also, right?
Yeah.
So if you have any questions, those who are watching us online, you may type in the comment box, and perhaps we can collect that also in the end.
Okay. Oh, that's good. So we can deal with all that. All right. So here we go. 1, 2. Come on, behave yourself. All right. Okay, maybe we just say about the land, because in case some people are curious about that who missed that, is what Selvaraj said, is that there has been an FIR by this PKS about the Evergreen land against 32 people. 3 were from the land board, 2 staff members, 1 member, and Selvaraj himself from working committee. They had been called, and they had just gone to see what was happening, and then there were other people. So there are these 32 names, and we have written to the secretary saying if there can be an anticipatory bail for everybody, and eventually to get the FIR squashed. So that's where it stands. So then about the ROR and to see where we are in terms of a population, we have looked at the possibilities of how to grow, and we found this from the mother. It takes massive sums, you know. It takes billions to build a town, and that's what we are all struggling with. And there's another place she says growth is a sign of youth. So we shouldn't get stagnated. It's time to move on.
Okay.
So, yeah. Is that enough?
It's enough. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Now you understood, right? In the end, if you can do a quick recap. Yeah. Thank you. Now I request Sindhuja from ATDC. Thank you, Anu.
So, hello everyone. We'll make our presentation very short. We have broadly 5 topics to cover. A lot of the work is ongoing and in the background, so it may not be very visible, but we'll do our best to cover and give you an update so that at least you know what we are working on the 2nd floor of Town Hall. You can go to the next slide, Jules. Oh, I can do that? That's true. Yeah. So we take this opportunity to invite you again to this exhibition, which is a special project that we did for the 150th birth anniversary of Sri Aurobindo. It's in India Space. I think many of you may not have visited it. It's basically a 1:100 model of the city center. So the red line you see where the people are standing is the crown. India Space at Bharat Nivas. Yes, thank you, Tapas. A lot of the models you see on the floor are still in the making. Some of the buildings which already exist are there in detail. So the aim of this exhibition is also, as we develop the DDPs, as we develop the city, the projects, the plans, this can be a kind of a live laboratory where we go with architects who are collaborating with ATDC and make those projects come alive in 1:100 scale. And we can all experience them in smaller scale before we manifest them in big, in real life. Here's a quick overview of what we are doing, what we have done, and what is in the pipeline. So DDPs are on the way. They are being done right now in collaboration with CPWD. And I must say it's a fantastic collaboration. We are all we are all amazed at how easy and how well the work is flowing. The senior architect of CPWD is working with us. He is a very senior and professional person. And he's catching very nicely the movement of the galaxy and the lines, even the hidden lines of the galaxy, which are invisible even to the architects who are working in Auroville since so long. So he's able to do that. And Anupama was here for some time last month, and we were very surprised, positively surprised at how well this is going. So the DDP focus right now is in the residential zone, city center, and then the industrial zone. These are the three areas which are very important. The first manifestation will be sector 1 and 2, the line of goodwill, city center, and parts of the industrial zone as money comes to manifest it. So the DDP, of course, has many layers. It's not one page document or one single map. It has many layers from urban design to infrastructure sections and how to implement, how to lay the pipes, what is the width of trenches. It's very detailed from all the way up to design, all the way down to engineering. So from our side, when we joined ATDC in June last year, in the last presentation we mentioned that we discovered a lot of the work has been done over the last decades and remained quite buried in drives, in hard drives and in sheets. So Anupama being the head of urban design of ATDC, we have actually picked up all of the things which have been left unattended. For example, there is this beautiful study on the lines of force in the residential zone. I never knew about that, but it's there in ATDC. So all this wealth of information has been kind of revamped, so to speak, and that's the base, that's our starting point. We are not starting from scratch where we have a galaxy model and we are wondering what to do. A lot of work, even while Roger was still there, has gone into decoding the galaxy already. So we start there, and then we are now working with what we have in terms of funding, in terms of where we want to go, in terms of decoding the widths and all the details which come with DDP work. So what we have completed from the ATDC now is we have collated for the crown, for the city center, for mobility. Mobility, there was already a report by Helmut and Hans Billinger quite some time ago, 2005, I think. And we have taken it out and made a new proposal which can be implemented today in stages. From this year onwards, it will start to be implemented with the coming of the crown. And there's a visitors access issue, which many of us are aware of, where Ideyan Chavadi village gets clogged with visitor traffic, especially on the peak visitor days. So this, how do you solve that by not allowing them to go through Ideyan Chavadi and by creating a service node there? There is a western service node which is supposed to come there, and there are Auroville lands there which can nicely receive this service node. So, and the secondary southern service node, which is where the Auroville electrical service and gas service of today are. It's again a series of disjointed developments which will not be like that anymore. It will be a campus. It will again be a point where we switch over our petrol vehicles for electrical vehicles. So these are the things which we have worked out up to the urban design guideline level and report level. From here on, the detail is being done in collaboration with CPWD. And ongoing, you see cultural, industrial, international, the other service nodes, and the infrastructure planning for Auroville. So the DDPs will also include wastewater, water, in city level. It will not be sector-wise. It will have to be decoded from the higher perspective. And next in preparation to be implemented, we are definitely completing the Crown Road at one point. And there are 10 radials which will be done immediately. The other 2 radials will not be done now. One is going through Bharatipuram and the other one is going through the cultural zone. And it connects to the stadium which will come, the big stadium which is planned in the cultural zone. So that radial will be done when the stadium will be built. So those 2 radials will be kept pending. The VIP access road, some parts of the outer ring road which will be required for the mobility switch over to work out properly. If we're really going into a city with no petrol vehicles, we have to approach that very smartly, the development of the ring road. Fecal sludge treatment plant, a TNEB substation, installation of CCTV cameras in and around Auroville, a boom barrier visitor center parking. So this will also regulate traffic inside the visitors who are coming. This will make it automated and it will become faster. So it will lead to less clog also, because there is a human element involved right now where the tickets are being processed and so on. So this automation will help the flow of traffic and the parking to be smoother. And tree plantation drive will be undertaken shortly. It's not the season for it now. We have just crossed the monsoon, but we have identified lands and we will be doing it as rains come. And with the environmental impact assessment work, we have contract with an agency called ABC Technolab, who are helping us to get all of our paperwork and technical details in order. It will be a single-phase implementation environmental clearance, which we are seeking. And we are going for all of Auroville, not city and Greenbelt separate, because it is one plan, and the Greenbelt and the city are very much related to each other. They feed each other, actually. I would have called upon Govind. Is Govind here? Govind is not here. So the Crown, as I said before, we have done the urban design details and guidelines for the Crown Plaza. The figuring out of the top surface material took a bit of time because we had somehow narrowed down on pavers, and we had already floated the tender for paver blocks, which after the work had started, we realized that it's not the best material if we are looking at building Auroville for hundreds of years, not just 20, 30 years, which was the approach of before. So we took a kind of bold step to say that we should go for something that makes sense for a long time. And the precast concrete panels were the thing that we narrowed down on. Now the finishes of the precast concrete panels, how they are made, and the joints, the detail, and how it relates to the movement of the galaxy, those things had to be figured out, and that took a bit of time. So this is the final pattern. There is definitely a tree corridor on the outer side, which is planned right now. We are also in the DDP work trying to figure out a way where the infrastructure can be compressed into service trenches. We are not there yet where we have figured this detail out. We are now focusing on finishing the road portion, the mobility portion. But if the infrastructure, the service trenches become more compact and more vertical, then there will be more space for us to have a green shaded mobility corridor and a cycle path. Right now, as it is in the design, the 16.7 is not with any tree cover because the infrastructure takes all the space on the outer side and on the inner side. So this design actually reflects a service trench which we had worked out, which will not be part of this phase of implementation. So this is the texture which we are going for. So the aim is to have the crown connect to the city center, the Matra Mandir being the heart of the city. We are going for red agra finish without using stone because the traffic requires something more robust as a material. So the top surface is achieved. You see some molds over there, some visits to some factories. So this also took a bit of time to fine tune because some of the molds, when they joined, the joint had to be neater and so on. So some fine tuning work was there, but we are very happy with the result. So what will be executed actually will be a grey slate, but the texture will remind us of the Matra Mandir pathways. This many of you have seen already and driven through, so I will not elaborate too much. So the first stretch of completion that is planned is 2.1 kilometer from Youth Center to PTDC. We had planned to close off the entire stretch and have alternative routes and just one crossover. Somehow the work is being implemented in, we are closing the road in bits, but very soon you will see that the entire 2.1 will be closed off and we will have to go around or access as per the maps which we will distribute. Housing, I invite Jaya to speak on housing.
So I'm going to speak a little bit about the housing. Because of the national... like that, okay. So because of the NGT stay order, we cannot do any kind of construction, no? So we all have to be aware of that. When that is over, taken away, or we have processed the case, then we can start working on the land. Meanwhile, we have been very, very busy to plan, process, drawings, discussions, etc. So we have been concentrating on Sector 1 and 2. In Sector 1, you see up, lowest density in the residential area. We are looking at this project close to Gaia, which will be with all the work we are doing is, collective facilities. So what we have not done in the residential zone so far, where we have built basically apartment houses, now we are building for collectivity. So we are following the numbers, etc., sizes from the master plan and from the DDP. So we are planning this, we call it Sunshine Community here, or Sunshine Project. And then we are looking in Sector 1 and 2 also for densification, yes. So in areas which are built presently, because the density that we have been building with is way below what we are supposed to have. I can give you as an example, one community, one piece of land, where there would have been 87 people living, are actually 16 people living in that area. We cannot build like this. So what we are looking at is mainly Neil and Manu who are working with this, how to actually densify and how to build in to the present areas. And all the time, including what we are doing, looking at what are the collective facilities which have to come in. Depending on the size of the population we are looking at for an area or for a larger area, what are the facilities which has to be there, and we are putting them in so that this is a big, big shift, and it's very, very interesting to work with. I wanted also, like Sindhuja said, to say about this work with CPWD, because that has been an experience which was a bit scary in the beginning, because we had to work with somebody from outside. I can say today that if you see in the Charter of a Mother says from within and from without, this is really amazing to work with these people who come with knowledge and skill. And when we are working together with goodwill, it creates an incredible flow. So this has been, I think we will be working with them for a long time. They work big scales. The way we are building up in the work and the communication, it seems that we are really in a winning situation with that. Something you want me more to take up? Funding, yes. So there we are looking. You see, there's a lot of work which has to go with FAMC and with TDC and then working committee also, because we cannot work this in silos at all, not possible. So we are looking at Anu was, I think you were the one who was saying about the different types of funding, no? So one of the ways is that we are looking how to get this bigger loan with very low interest, so that we can actually, and the shift in the economy, which I guess that FAMC will be talking about, that we go into the prosperity system, where in the I don't want to call it maintenance anymore, because that is so of the past, no? But in the prosperity, it will also include the living, the place that you live in. So that means that for the first time, we can possibly take these loans, and they will be paid back. Because we cannot trust the individuals, but we can build a system which actually allows this to happen. Was there something else you want me to say on this one? Fine. You can say something, sure.
I would like to add that in this image, we see Sector 1 and 2. You see, this is actually what we have been calling the draft DDP of Luis Feducci for now almost 10 years, 2014, so 9 years. It had a context. It was done at a point in time where big shifts were not possible. So we had to accept things which were wrong. For example, what she said, 16 people living in the place of 87 people. This DDP was done with an apology. It had accepted all the mistakes of the past and accounted for them in the plots of the future. So where it is supposed to be ultra low density, we end up with a medium density housing. So today, with the approach of DDPs, looking at the whole thing with a fresh eye, we actually cannot build Auroville on the past mistakes. We cannot put layers of mistakes on old mistakes. So what will happen is some of the communities which are built really wrong, like I'll give you examples, Sofio, Sukhavati, for example, which are done really low density, at what point, why, we don't know. Those densities will become what we call yellow assets. They will live out their lives, those assets will live out their lives, And once 30, 40, 50 years down the line, once those assets have lived out their life, new settlements will come there with the right density. And meanwhile, we will build the rest of Auroville. We will not touch those and, take them down right now. But we cannot accept them as eternal and then compromise. So actually, I would like to bring your attention to this image, which is the biggest distorted image of the galaxy, a piece of the galaxy which has gone very wrong. Sector 1 and 2 has been an example like that. So now we are having a corrective measure. So these details will come along with the DDP, like which assets are going to be renovated and which assets will not be renovated any longer. And it will tie up to something we will say a bit later on. And I want to say one more thing. She will do line of goodwill. I'll say one more thing. Manu and Neil have joined us, and Manu actually came on board to work on that Sunshine Housing project, which Jaya said. So we started like that. We took the DDP, we took a project, and we started to develop it within ATDC. But once Manu has come on board, and Neil is also working on we're working together, we see that it cannot be approached like that, actually. So the whole thing, if you're looking at Sector 1 needs to be decoded. And definitely the projects will have to develop. We cannot keep speaking about it in concepts. So concrete work is being done, that's for sure. But we are not separating projects and looking at them, this is the density, this is the height, there's your fence, and they don't interact with the next. That doesn't work anymore for the future of Auroville. So I'll hand it back to Jaya.
There is one space where we can actually start from scratch, the way we want, and that is the line of goodwill, when we are doing the line of force, because actually that area has been kept. There is no construction on it. So with these 1,000 units that is being talked about by working committee, we are actually looking at being able to start with the first 500 units in the line of goodwill. And what is so fascinating with this project, I think some of you might have seen presentations we did a couple of years ago, the group that has been working on that for 5, 6 years, And this is the fact that we are looking really at how do you build collectivity? How you build in a way that promotes collectivity? It's not just about putting in collective facilities. You can put community kitchens that are not used. We have had that in Auroville also, So actually we are looking at the whole research of the social environment, different kinds of living, different kinds of sizes. How do you build? You can build collectivity easier flat. How do we build it in high rise? This project, I just have to finish it. What? There are more slides on this? Okay. No, I think it's this one, and you have the red line down there. It's actually, if you look at it from the point of view of our human development, of the situation in the world, whether you look from ecology, social life, animals, whichever side you do, pollution, etc. If you want to be really environmentally sound, you have to live with density. You can only do the infrastructure in a good way. I lived in a big house, in the forest, with solar from the beginning. From the beginning, I knew this is not sustainable. It was all done with the compressed mud bricks, one of the first houses. I knew a solar system like this is not sustainable because it takes a lot to afford it. So it cannot be used for everybody. So here we are looking at how do you build high, vertical, at the same time as you're not doing the insulated, you actually build a hillscape. This is what Rocher had been working on very early. Today there are a few architect offices in the world who are working on this, doing fantastic work. Rocher was already working on it. And how do we build the collectivity? How do we build the steps between private, semi-private, community, and public in such a way that you actually don't get insulated in capsules in the high-rise or on the flat, for that matter. So, and with the collective facilities, it's a lot of research that goes in because it's a lot of social research. Then there is the ecological, environmental sides, etc. All of this is really, we want this to be a space which holds all these aspects, water, energy, everything. So it's a huge research project, and it's very interesting because we have a model in the India space of it, and explaining it a bit, what is planned, to people who come from outside, architects, engineers, etc. They're saying, oh, this is actually of interest for India, because if you densify, there's a lot of people, I think now India is the biggest amount of people in the world, and we have lots of wildlife that needs space. So this way we can give it.
Thank you, Jaya. There's more? Yeah?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
We'll go very fast. Arun reminded me to go fast. So here I just wanted to highlight that we are also looking at developing the industrial zone, especially because not any work has been done on the industrial zone. Again, we are with large fenced settlements which have nothing to do with the industrial zone. It's been quite eaten up, as you will see in the next slide. If it comes. Yes. So you see all the white between the green are fences, fenced settlements, and there are people stewarding those lands. So again, this is something we have to work out. Urban design guidelines have been prepared and DDP work is underway. Also, why this is important is for what she said, the funding model can only work if our economy is prosperous, and we are not quite focusing on that. We have 700 units doing that thing, but we have to look at large scale, and I will leave FAMC to speak about this. But development of the zone is with ATDC. Another thing we are doing for economy is looking at places which are outside the master plan or at the edge, outer edge of the green belt, where people have built houses and they are sitting on big areas, big pieces of land. And these are actually connected to main roads which are coming into Auroville, where already shops, restaurants are springing up every day. So these areas will be developed as furtherance hubs, we call them. It's not our focus for the immediate, city is the focus for the immediate, but for example, Arc-en-Ciel is an area which we have been looking at, how to develop it as a commercial hub with proper parking, where the whole Tanto node can thrive and generate money for Auroville. Auro Brindavan also. Yes. Sorry. Policy shifts, I invite Hemant to speak on policy shifts.
Actually, I'm reading that, because because I have this whole lot of information and I'm not able to put it, but I would actually look at it at a much different level. And that is, internally we need to become impersonal. This is what the whole aspect of integral yoga is. But it doesn't reflect to us. We are all very attached to our homes and assets, and it's quite understandable because we even become emotional about it. So how do we get that out? Okay, we understand we have a policy here to, so that there's no ownership, so we want to change terminologies like stewardship to maybe just managers or whatever. So this whole policy that we need to look at as a transition. We need to transition. So in fact, that becomes the most important aspect of it. How do we transition this whole lot of people, including me, we are very attached to assets. And we are not at all having an idea of how it will be if people have to today move out of their places and go into a space, a single person's 30 square meters. It's quite an impossible thing to understand how this works, because the mother has given also the guideline that a family of 4 occupies 75 square meters. And today we are looking at a lot of houses which are sprawling all over the place. There are people having two places where they move from one to the other. Then there are people having for their children. I'm building up the space for my child who will grow up in another few years and become 18 years old, and etc. So it's of course very personal. Even I would look at it that way. But we really need to become impersonal, and not in terms of connection with whoever it is, and in terms of material. We need to become impersonal with the material aspect of this whole situation. And based on that, we need to draw the policy where we have to create a massive transition for a whole lot of people. But I think it's going to be a little bit more easier because right now we are just 8% growth in Auroville for the future, what we are looking at. So that's my bit.
Thank you, Hemant. Does that mean that I cannot have a summer house in Greenbelt and winter house in a city? No? All right. You want to add short? Very short. Okay, she is assuring it's short. So.
The ideal, which we have been brought up with and live with, is actually to have space, a very nice big flat, or a big house, and a garden, etc. Everybody has the same dream. If we live like, no, I'm saying in generalization, we are putting this dream into our children in Auroville, this fight for the house and for the land. Can we shift our whole concept of what we are longing for and what gives freedom? It actually needs to shift for all of us, because we are all we see here, the moment we talk about 30 square meters, we see it as suffering. We see it as something which will constrain us. No. Many people do, maybe not you, Paulette, but you have always been standing in that line, so I honor you for that. But it's somehow, we need to shift the mindset on this one. I just needed to say that because it is something I have realized in doing this work all these months, that actually if we don't shift that, if we see this as a kind of a punishment we have to go through, when actually it can build such amazing, amazing spaces for everybody on the earth, no? I wanted to say that.
Thank you, Jaya. It was indeed short. More?
Ongoing projects, I'm done with this. I'll go very fast. So we've already touched upon many of this. Some of the things we have not said is Siru, the new town hall, which is the actual town hall. What we're occupying now is Auroville Center for Urban Research. And the Line of Progress, which was a cell under ATDC held by Joseba and Anandi for many years now. And that project has now been taken into ATDC, and Shailaja has agreed to be part of ATDC and work on the design. And upcoming projects is, of course, when we want people, we have children, so educational facilities with a focus on integral education. 1,000 more accommodation for volunteers, which connects with what Anu presented earlier. City parks, design and plan development. Right now we don't really have parks. We have fenced areas within the parks, which are mostly jungle. So we will start to focus on the design and implementation of these. And vocational training center, dedicated space for the youth, which is not youth center, but something that they can do useful research, study, and this will support that. And we have, of course, an application cell. Right now we are focused on the larger picture, and to manifest to make the big systemic shifts is the big focus right now. But I have not listed all the projects here, only the bigger collective projects are listed here. But we have quite a lot of applications, and I take this opportunity to say if we are a little late in processing your application, it's because we are working on the larger picture and the systemic shifts. So please bear with us. And also in line with that, the policy shifts connects to that. So extensions, renovations, repairs are all seen in the context of, is this building sitting in the right place in the master plan? How many people are living in the house? All these things are being looked at now, whereas it was not the norm before. So please bear with us while we are making these changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Sindhuja. Okay, now I'm going to take a moment away from the topics of today, nevertheless related to ATDC, Lavinier, the Auroville. I take this moment to remember our ex-GB member, ex-chairman Lavinier de Auroville, Aga Khan awardee for architecture, Pritzker Prize winner, which is an equivalent of Nobel Prize for architecture, Padma Shri and Padma Bhushan, Shri Balkrishna Vittal Das Joshi ji, who has moved on beyond the physical form. So I take this moment to observe a minute's silence in his memory. I invite you to join also, please. Om. Gratitude to all that he has done for Auroville. I think he came to Auroville first in the 70s. Since then, he has been associated with Auroville in one form or the other. Now I invite Chandresh Bhai Patel, FAMC member. आप यहाँ करें.
Okay, normally people don't like to have mother quoted, but I think I will start because work organization in Auroville is something that we all come here for. It's our karma bhumi, karma yoga. So the question was asked to mother, how will work be organized and distributed in Auroville? Because FAMC is part of, human resources part of FAMC, at least at this point. Money would be no more the sovereign lord. Individual value would have a greater importance than the value due to material wealth and financial position. Work would not be there as the means for gaining one's livelihood. It would be the means whereby to express oneself, develop one's capacities and possibilities, while doing at the same time service to the whole group, which on its side would provide for each one's subsistence and for the field of his work. Try different buttons. No, doesn't want to present today. Maybe it's time to call a day off. Say next. Next, please. Wow, I'll try one more time. No. It went backward. Okay, so refocusing FAMC. We were brought in as a team last June. Funds and Asset Management Committee was formed by the governing board as a Section 16(1) committee. But as a team, we are focusing independently and yet simultaneously on funds management and assets management. I just wanted to say that funds, the way I look at it, or our team, is moving from cash to core fundamentals. And for assets, we would like to bring about optimum utilization of whatever available resources we have, and of course, how to expand further. And the management committee, again, I'm just putting the mundane into what would be esoteric, is coalition of the willing. So we always believe that all those who are willing, come, we work together. And if you look at it recently, we have set a list of project leads that we need to help the core work of FAMC. So we have invited everybody to come and work. And we want to move from existing in the now to living the dream. If I can work, maybe it doesn't want me to go forward. Here you go. So the purpose of FAMC, funds and finance and asset, the core needs of any society. Funds are our liquid aspirations, at least for in Auroville. We hope that it's no longer the money aspect. Assets are our solid base to build the city upon and grow. Transparency in working with funds, efficient use and management of assets, fair and optimum stewardship allocations. These are our goals, the purpose of FAMC. Structure, evaluate, and roll out policies and processes to move the community towards self-sufficiency and aspiration for progressive abundance. Well, I can stop. Actually, FAMC is got a very wide palette and a lot of subgroups, and that's why we are asking for quite a lot of help in our team. This most everybody knows. I'll just go quickly. Land resource management, Unity Fund, which has city services and donations and utilization. Many of these areas traditionally we were not actually picking up, but now we are trying to see that all the areas are at least starting to be looked at. Housing service, budget coordination, green belt, which is farm and green services, and economy and growth. The last one is where we are focusing quite a bit now. It's a bit slow, I think. I know, I wanted to skip over the bumpy ride now. Okay, this I'll go quickly. Empowering the dream. Basically, I wanted to emphasize that we are looking at it differently at this point. The other way? Try it out. Next time you can stand here. No, go down, go back. Okay, bumpy ride. I'll go quickly. Okay, bumpy ride. So in June, the FAMC team took over, and it was, we one by one started meeting the subgroups and trying to work with them to see how we could collaborate and trying to work out work plan. Because one of the things that we were asked by the governing board was come up with annual work plans for each of the subgroups. And traditionally, this has never happened. And so we're trying to bring different groups and saying, look, this is how we are seeing to start moving forward, where you are at, and there were challenges, right? So that's what I mean by working plans, bumpy ride. And we start, at least first we did FAMC's own annual work plan, and then slowly we are trying to see how we can work with farm and housing and BCC, also everybody else. And what we're going to share today is the lessons learned over the last 6 months in our office tenure, some future roadmap, and then we'll go for question and answer that will come through the chit to Lakshay. Next, please. Thank you. This one we can go. Okay, no, quickly keep. So basically, we're trying to see how to bring about people to start helping us out, who are enthused to work with money power rather than cash or money, just say. Try and bring best practices for unit services, for small activities, bring about processes actually. Offer centralized accounting, open review for those willing to learn and grow. Bring more punctual checkpoints for self-assessment and growth path or triggers to allow change. And offer alternatives, those who are not able to support a healthy engagement. But that I'll not talk much about. Please, next. Work plan for all subgroups. So this is another quote. This is only second one. I'll not take more. No big creation is possible without discipline. Individual discipline, group discipline, discipline towards the divine. It says it all. And so at this point, we are looking to work with the subgroups to get the work plan, policies and mandates. We are reviewing the policies of each of the work group because some of them were like 10, 12 years old, so we are bringing it current. We are reviewing right now with the subgroups, and then we'll send it to the community for feedback and consolidation before we release it. Another area we are looking for very seriously with other outside technical and other expert help is farm utilization and increase the farm productivity for food self-sufficiency. We are also looking at revisiting stewardship norm so that broad-based engagement for best and optimum use of land assets is feasible. And this would be in farms and the greenbelt areas. We are also preparing a proper asset registry for housing and buildings, and that is ongoing with the housing service. This wasn't done until last 2010 seriously, properly and structurally. We have also brought about tools and technology so that it's available in a digital format. We can bring it into databases online. And then we currently, last 3 months, we've been very focused on budget, BCC work, and trying to bring in proper accounting structures. Because what we realized was that so far, the Budget and Coordination Committee is one of the biggest sections of our community. People do not even understand, but that's a municipal services budget. It is 26 crore annual budget. And it was not even accounted so far. So we are trying to bring that into picture. We also, our BCC was 1.5 years later in collecting the contributions. And then there would be 9 months later in terms of reviewing the next year's municipal budget. So all this we are trying to compress it in the last 6 months so that by March, in 9 months, we have a proper BCC which is properly accounted, consolidated in foundation, and we start having a total overall understanding of what is our total economy that is going to be available at when. Because one of the things we have noticed is that right now, if you say 1.5 year back of collection, we are looking at a COVID collection, which was very low. And then last year was a stressful year for Auroville because there is a stress in the community. A lot of units stopped working. So then what happens is this 1.5 to 2 years, we are in a low period. And now, if you look at world economy, we are going into recession. So we are actually entering a very critical period as community. And we have to really manage our budget. And so then we have to see what different ways we can sustain and expand. So those are the challenges FAMC is picking up right now. And until we have transparency and very efficient technologies to help us work with the numbers, it'll be difficult. If we had continued as things were before, we would have been really in a soup. I'll just go quickly through this. We have, as you all know, we have 40 trusts, 280 units, 600 plus activities, and 600 plus activities is because one would say, okay, it's very good to have invigorating, enterprising and all that, but actually it's not. It's so many activities because everybody is eking out their own living. We have left the community to work out their own individual dependency instead of having a prosperity and collective system that then people do joyful work. They don't have to worry about their own maintenance and other stuff. So we are looking at how to change that, reinvigorate the stewardship of trusts, units and service to align with the core needs of the community rather than sources for income generation managed by independent residents. Okay, so that shift is what we are trying to bring in. We are also trying to bring in a GST. Today, that's a new reality from 4 years. We haven't taken that properly so that we can, across the trust, across the community, utilize it well. So that offers an opportunity for a new framework for all our products and services. And we are trying to see how to consolidate our trust. Next. I'll go quickly over this. So we're basically setting up processes to provide timely audit reviews. Now there is a system and process audit that's going to happen in February 2nd. There'll be a community presentation to all the units and trust how we can improve our processes. And then we are going to try and bring in more transparency management through processes. Okay, next one. So land asset, we are currently directly looking at the farmland, how to bring structure so that more farm lands which are not utilized can be brought into production. More Aurovillians who shown interest. When the ROR happened, there was a questionnaire about who would like to help in what areas of Auroville, and 80% had said they would like to work in farms and forest areas. So we are trying to pick up like 30 to 40 of them and seeing in the different farm areas how we can enable the various fallow lands, unattended lands to be used for farming, but with proper structures. Okay, go to the next. Again, this is, we are, as I mentioned before already, we are doing the registry of assets and buildings, and there we will try and make sure that duplicate assets and, anything that is empty, lying, not used, and streamline the utilization. And also, at this point, we are also looking how to do a transfers within which are not based on market value and against the norms of Auroville. So we're looking at a whole asset and the housing area separately. A new policy and mandate will come out. This is one of the last one whereby human resource development, this was it's always been a half and half. So we are trying to see if we can at least give a momentum to the human resource service, whereby not only the people who would like to come and do different works, newcomers or Aurovillians, there is a register of residents. So we are scanning that to see who wants to work where. And also apprentice program, that area was never strengthened, whereby youth who came out of our schools and wanted to work were given a structured way to they could do work at a different areas, but yet be maintained and supported by the community. So that area also we are strengthening now. And of course, more teams, and in this different areas, we are trying to bring about new task teams and project leaders, develop the youth to become project leads. So this is I think my last slide. Lessons learned. Collaboration is possible only by doing the work diligently while keeping the goals and ideals in front. And change from existing modalities is hard, even when it is obviously taking the community away from the ideals. Communication on the roadmap, key milestones, regular reports on the work at hand helps reach out to those who are interested to join in that. I don't know if you have been reading our monthly reports that, every first Gita from our team, we send it out and we try and really show what we have done the previous month. And each time we also offer different areas in which we are looking for help. And again, just last week we sent out a request for 10 areas for project leaders to join FAMC, so that the fundamental, the base of FAMC administrative services becomes strong. And we are definitely using a lot of technology and tools and processes which are automating and helping us in all our subgroups also. And for that, we are definitely grateful to some of our new startup teams of Auroville, and we'll continue to do that, because that's the only way we can take out the drudgery of and the human errors and dependency on things and make it automate so people can focus on new things, new creative things. But there's actually a lot of things we can do and develop. Okay. I was wrong. So, but it's very quickly, centralized and digitized accounts, with proper GST. So this will allow us to, first time in Auroville, know what money we will get and how productive are our different units and trusts. So far it's not feasible because our accounts are only at the end of the year and 9 months from there. So this will make us current by another 1 year we'll be current. Auroville budget and economy planning, this is the first time that's our goal. Farm sector reform, proper housing asset. Prosperity system is the key one where we want to really understand what it means to bring about a prosperity. But more than understanding, we also need to understand how to budget for it, or at least the scope. We may not have the funds for it now, but we need to understand what it will mean. And it will cover, not only your groceries, your house component, your mobility, your communication, but not only for individual families with children at a different age, but also at a society level. We have higher educational needs for children, youth and adults. We have needs for cycles for youth. We have needs for guitar or other sports material for the various sports ground or whatever, right? So those are all the societal needs that we need to budget in for economy so that we have a prosperity, in which case it will not be maintenance. It will be based on a prosperity which has a budget, and we understand and then plan for the budget so that then have a growth for our units and everything, so that hopefully we can all move jointly towards that. Because we will have an idea from the top what is available, what's coming. Rather than have to wait 2 years or 3 years, we will know monthly. Monthly we will know what is coming, where the drawbacks are, and then start planning for it. Okay.
Surprise, there is one more. All right. All right. Thank you. I'm aware that the presentation of bakery is already open outside, and some of you have gravitated there. I will not keep you away for long. Now we begin with question and answer. I have received some questions, and as I promised, I will begin with working committee. What I have also done in the time that I could gather is that I put them into silos, into topics, and I invite somebody from working committee who can talk on ROR. There are 2 questions related to that. I invite somebody from working committee. ROR, Run. Yes. So the first question is from Satprem. ROR is the duty of the secretary. Why was it not done for the last 18 years? Since you were like 3-year-old.
Yeah, I think I was 3 years old, so... I think it was the duty, but...
Chandresh wants to answer also.
I think we have to ask this foundation why, Chandresh.
If I may, I was in previous working committee also where this was taken up. And in between there was another working committee that took it up. If you all remember, that request had gone out to everybody, come and please fill up this, not by foundation, by working committee, so that update. See, what happens is the visas change, the passport numbers change, people change their names, they change their residence, their mobile change. So the information upgrade, it's of course, we can easily say it is a foundation job. But somebody, even when working committee was asking, people didn't come. 1,500 is what I was able to best collect at those days, right? And even when in 2015 or 16, when they started doing the card, right? And that was another working committee, Mandakini, all that. They tried for so many, 6 to 8 months, they kept asking people, please come and fill up your form so that we can get the cards, right? Even it's an ID card which helps people themselves to do any transaction in India, right? So at that, what happens is, it's easily to say that it's foundation job. Actually, when police come to ask foundation for any information, they say, well, people don't submit even when we ask. So it's one of those things, right? So there is no boundary. Anyway.
Yeah, if I can just
You
continue
want to add
on.
to that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I just want
Or should I also ask you the other question so that you can answer
Okay.
together? The next question is from Venkatesh. We heard that RAD processes can be conducted after ROR work finishes. So now the community can conduct RAD process? Now that it is done?
Go one by one.
Okay.
See, the ROR is the work of the foundation, right? But they take the assistance of the working committee to help them to update the details, all the, yeah. So in this case, I think even earlier, I think even when Mr. Chunkat was there, he had asked for a full update because it hadn't been, a clear update has not been done since 2005. So in between, small things have been done. When Mr. Chunkat asked for that ROR to be updated, in the end, a few hundred ID cards were made. But you see, the ID cards do not contain all the information that is required. So ultimately, we were left with a lot of discrepancies. You know, the people who were missing, people who were out for long, people who have left for very long and were still there. So for all that reason, we have to work, the working committee worked with them. And it was the members of the community also, because obviously the secretary herself or anybody else, you know, cannot just go around door to get all that, because the answers never come. And yeah, so the next one was, oh God, what was it? Yeah, RAD. Yeah, so so this is what started, if you remember, in the month of May, or was it in the month of April?
6th May.
Yeah, 6th of May. There was a request, because of all this, because of the unclarity, that, okay, you want to hold the RAD, fine, but please fill up the ROR, update it, and at that point, a month's notice was given, that you just 3,000 people, you know, not 3,000 adults even, so, you know, 2,000 whatever adults, take a month, fill it up, and do your process. But that, for some reason, got mixed up with all kinds of controversies. It didn't happen, and it dragged and dragged and dragged. And then this was also, interestingly, the advice given by the judge in the High Court case, which at that point, I mean, he made one or two observations, but he concluded by saying just one thing, that before, you know, the things stand as they are, it is important to complete the ROR, update that, and then things can proceed. So I think that is what is being done, and it has to be done properly, because if you see, from 2005, it's almost 17 years, things have to be done properly. So that's where we are.
Okay, so I have few questions, and I would request you to be a little bit brief. And if required, I will give you the questions. You can maybe put out a written form Q&A from Working Committee on AuroNet and send it as a mass bulletin also, if possible, please. So the next question I connected to the thing that you answered right now. What's happening with NGT case?
That, I must say, the Working Committee cannot really answer directly as such right now. I would ask maybe TDC to come up with this. Oh,
perhaps later. I will.
Perhaps we'll give you a more accurate thing, because there has
to the ATDC list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the 1,000 crores coming from the center still on the table?
You see that? That's an ATDC question. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
The next one, there are a bunch related to visa. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You want to take that? So this one is from Sat Prem. Yeah. I'm reading out the name when they have mentioned it. Otherwise, it's all anonymous. Mm-hmm. Why did you say to the secretary that Sat Prem was doing anti-government activities?
Yeah, this is very interesting, because this is what we found out on the... Joseba, maybe you know better on this. Because we were surprised also, because we were not going to the secretary saying he has done this. There were just the facts on the table, Satprem. You sent a letter to the UNESCO, which got the whole project jeopardized. And this is a fact. This is beyond us. So the secretary herself made her own observations. She collected her own information. And that was a very major issue, because the day we heard about it was literally a day and a half before we were supposed to depart. Everything was packed. We had everything was printed and packed, and it was abruptly taken down. So, I mean, all those things play their part. It was not something that the working committee went out and said or did. This was a fact.
Okay. There is another question related to visa. This is from Sonia, I guess. She has mentioned the email address. Am I right? Okay. So you mentioned few did not get the letter. How many is few? What were the criteria for refusal? Few did not get the letter. How many were few? What were the criteria for refusal?
So according with the data that is published in in the foundation, in the web page, only 2 cases remain unsolved. We don't know exactly for what reasons the Secretary has decided to do this kind of approach. We should remind to everyone that the responsibility to give the visas or to restrict or to do whatever is not with the working committee, is with the foundation, with the Secretary exactly. She receives plenty of information. She is analyzing very carefully all the applications. Several times they have given batch of applications to us. Please correct this, correct that, because it's not, some information is missing, many things. And then we do this work and we present to them. So I don't know the reasons, frankly, for doing some decisions about the visas. Personally, I think in the middle of all the turbulences and all kind of things that has happened during the last year in Auroville, all the accusations against the governing board, against the secretary, disqualifying them, insulting them, not allowing them to speak even. From my point of view, personally, I am surprised of the low number of cases that are in this not resolved for only 1 year or things like this. Frankly.
Okay.
I am surprised of the little number that have been done, because I think that Auroville is out of hand at many levels, and maybe the behavior of the Secretary of the Governing Board could have been more stronger than what has been.
Okay, some more related to visa. The next one is from Shivaya. What about the recommendation? What about the visas of Sauro, Mayal?
Again, we don't know, because the work is divided. The foundation take the last decisions, only them. Okay? This has to be clear for everyone. And our work is assistential work again, to collect, to filter, to do all kind of things, but we are not deciding, the deciding force to say yes or no to only 1 year or whatever. These are decisions that belong only to the foundation.
Okay. Some more related to a visa by Shivaya only. What are the criteria?
Okay.
You may add this, also answer it together. What are the criteria for not granting visa extension? What are the criteria for only giving 1 year extension of visa? Both from Shivaya.
Okay. One other thing I just wanted to add is it's true that it's like he said, it's up to the Secretary, that's her prerogative according to the Act, to take the call. But ultimately, even when she sends her recommendation, it is the FRRO, which also has its own additional sources of information, which also factors in some decisions.
So on your part, from as working committee, you
Yeah.
do not refuse, or you just process the form?
We process the form, and there are some cases we have to follow certain norms which are part of the ROR.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have to see whether those criteria are met or if they are completely off. So we just look at those things.
So even including Satprem, it's not working committee's role in refusing or recommending whatever it may be.
Yeah.
All right. There is one more related to visa. Again, name is not mentioned. Few not received, no recommendation. How many did not receive recommendation? 2 cases. Second, perhaps, how many cases are active? Subject-wise breakup, please. No. I'm not sure. Subject-wise, perhaps, is how many visas were applied, how many... Oh, cases. Okay. So it's not related to visa. It's related to the cases which, court cases.
Unresolved.
How many cases active? Subject-wise breakup, like against working committee, against FAMC, something like that? All right.
Yeah. So there is... Yeah. Working committee. The Hemant. Okay, would you like to come in? Yeah.
So how many are active and how many have been quashed? It's a new term.
The FIR that was filed by the foundation against a few individuals who broke open into a working committee's office, That's one case which is active. The 12th of August judgment from the High Court has been appealed by the Auroville Foundation at the Chief Justice bench of the High Court. That is still active. It's an appeal by the foundation. And one extra case filed by Natasha Story. She filed 2 cases against the TDC. One was against the standing order, one was against the office order. The office order case has been quashed, has been dismissed. The other one is still active, and it has been clubbed with the case in the Chief Justice bench. So it will be seen almost as one, even though it's 2 cases. And we have one case open in the Supreme Court, which is an appeal against the NGT verdict, which came on the 28th of April. And we have one extra miscellaneous application filed by Navroz Modi and Sandeep, again in NGT court, Southern Zone, for contempt of court. They are charging us with contempt of court after the verdict. This was filed in July. So that miscellaneous application is also pending hearing until the Supreme Court verdict is disposed.
That's it? Okay. All right. Anything more related to court cases? Any legal?
FAMC case has been dismissed as withdrawn. 1. There was no subsequent case filed.
Okay. Last question for working committee. Olympic Games. This is not very clear, so I'm going to read what is legible, whatever is legible. Olympic Games came up, something. Why not have India create Olympic town here? Maybe. Anybody? Who wrote this question? Anyone? Okay, what is the last word? Olympic town?
Yeah, why not have the Olympic Games here in Auroville for India and build the whole town, have all the people all the world will see?
Willing sportspersons. Willing sportsperson of Auroville.
Well, she wanted it in 1980, 12 years after 1968. That's what she said. But the thing is, we started blocking the crown already since. So we need at least a road with infrastructure, right? So we're getting there. So we'll come.
Okay, there are 3 of them which are not related to any. So I'm going to pose it to you. Perhaps the next one, ATDC, may also want to add on to it. Why don't you invite the RA elected groups to join and send all groups together in a healing process? We all could only gain through that. This is by Birgitta. So, would you like to go on a healing process with other RA elected groups?
I did something individually when this gentleman Raghu invited a lot of people. I went and I even spoke that it was I was open to talking to other people. But, from what we are seeing is that people are not perhaps ready, and you cannot force people, I think we will, anyway we are serving people, everybody who is against us, who raises slogans against us or whatever, they come to us for whatever work needs to be done, and we serve them. So that remains. So when the moment comes, we can sit together and work. But we cannot push them. We cannot force them into anything.
And the work that you're doing with Raghu is not related to working groups. Is he trying to
no, we had a session
together?
with them which was interesting. But I think we haven't come to that point of, let's say, ripeness from both sides. So we'll take it as it comes.
Okay. I'm not sure there's a question there's a question form. So what about the ardent, sincere practice of yoga in order for change of consciousness for good? What about that?
Exactly. What about that? Without that, can we have Auroville? That's the first line of the charter, to be a willing servitor of the divine consciousness. So that is the ground on which we have to stand, on which we have to build.
Yep.
So that's it.
So
and we are totally, we believe completely in that. And I think that's what we are working with all the groups.
There is an addendum to this, perhaps from the same author. All that seems to me a lot of mental bubbling. Where is the psychic vision?
That's why we stick to Mother's vision, because that's the psychic vision. That's what we believe. Okay? So we don't have it, she has it, and we follow it. The healing process will happen if we start to forget ourselves. We have made ourselves too important. If we forget ourselves and dedicate ourselves to something higher, the healing process will happen, the unity will happen, and all the good things will happen.
Okay. Now I invite ATDC member with an ability to answer sharply, shortly. Toby. Okay.
Please go.
So the joke is to be or not to be?
That's the question.
That's the question.
Is that the question?
So the question is
Those are the
this:
questions.
is the 1,000 crores coming from the center still on the table?
Yes.
On the table or not on the table?
It's 1,737 crores now.
1,000?
737 crores now.
1,737
Yes,
crores.
there's a DPR which has been prepared with detailed projects. So the 1,000 crore was a very ballpark
Yep.
figure which was approved in principle by the GB.
Okay.
So then it was taken to the next level, and the actual figure was 1,737, and it has been approved.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
of course.
And that
Hey, Govind is here.
And that question was from Anton. Thank you, Anton.
Our roadmap.
What is happening with NGT case? Would you like to take that again?
I think I
You addressed that?
addressed that already.
Okay. Again, the first ones, few of them were related to Crown, so again, I have clubbed them. These are some which are related to road, again, I guess. How long will it take to make the road between Youth Center and Solar Kitchen? This is from Shivaya.
Go.
How long will it take, brother?
2.1 kilometers.
2.1 kilometers. I think, see, the first stretch of test road,
Yeah?
which is going to be nearly 100-meter length,
Okay.
and this will be at the youth center partly and partly near the PTDC. That's what we are planning, but at PTDC, we are not able to still find 16.7 meter width because of some of the trees are existing.
Okay.
And our road top surface is in the concrete, so concrete slab, which cannot cut and put it.
Yep.
So
Because of the NGT.
maybe we will do it at all 100-meter stretch, which is the test stretch at youth center, nearby youth center.
So the target is 100 meters.
100 meter.
And maybe
with-
at two location, if not at only one
at
location, which is youth center.
Yeah, that
100
could be,
meters.
That could be in a month's time from now. Yeah.
Month's time you
Just
will begin or you will
just a
finish?
100-meter stretch.
You will begin in month's time.
Finishing.
No, it will be done very soon, in a month time, because everything is ready. Only we have to plant it now in position.
Lay the road,
Yes.
the 100 meters.
Yes.
And you are hopeful that within a month it will be done.
Yes.
Okay.
See, for us the limitation is we are only monitoring the work which CPWD is doing. Our scope is very limited. We cannot take the role of CPWD. So we are very much depending on their pace of work.
Okay.
So we cannot exactly commit, but we are looking at the way work is progressing. We are expecting that in a month time, this test stage will be done.
Super. Some more related questions. Road work. In how many phases? So you talked about first 100 meter.
This is
what
first
about the
100
remaining?
meter. For the remaining?
4.6 kilometers.
2.1 kilometers is phase 1. Okay, so there is a substrata work for 2.1 kilometers, which will be finished along with the 100-meter top surface within a month's time. It was supposed to be finished by January, but we are seeing a delay, and we are monitoring CPWD's work. And then the 2.1 kilometers top surface, apart from this 100-meter, there will be 2 kilometers left. Because there are some land parcels which are still in negotiation, and the concrete is being laid in a pattern. So it cannot be broken, and you cannot start from two ends, for example, because you may have an error. So once everything is in place, which is ongoing right now, we will finish from PTDC to Youth Center in one go, leaving that 100-meter stretch which was done. And the second phase is expected to be completed by July, which is 4.4 kilometers of the crown. So it's only 2 phases of work actually.
Is there a time frame for the first phase? For 2.1 kilometers?
For 2.1 kilometer by 1st of April 2023, the full top surface for 2.1 kilometers is expected to be completed.
Is expected to be completed.
Completed.
Okay, that's a very definite answer.
Yes.
And then by July, you said, for the
By
second?
July, for the 4.4, we are aiming because everything is clear for us from our side, design perspective, everything is clear. It's only implementation. So also the catch is the trees. So when the NGT case, the stay order on tree felling is clear, it will speed up the work because we don't have 16.7 meters available everywhere.
Okay.
So the remaining 2.2 kilometers, if the NGT case is clear by April, let's say, and we have completed the first phase of work, there's nothing stopping us from finishing the second phase of work very fast because we are not going through the same process again. That will take time.
So you are saying again there is a caveat here that you need a clearance to cut the trees. So even for the first phase, which you said will be done by 1st of April, do you have any trees on that 2.1 kilometer?
We do.
You do. So you cannot say that for sure.
We can. We are working around it. We are working with our lawyers to see how we can navigate this question of trees which are falling on the road portion. There are very few. So there is a way around it, and we will see what we can do. But it is not that we will wait and see if the case comes through or not by April, because the tender also gets completed by April. So there is a deadline for the contractor as well to complete his work. So we are working for those few trees to figure out a way with joint committee, etc., to allow that to happen fast.
Okay,
yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. So the second one you already answered. It says each phase with timeline of work completion. Do you also have a timeline for the radials? You mentioned 10 already. Is there a timeline related to that?
So the 10 radials, first the location has to be fixed. So the groundwork, the base work is being done in office with CPWD right now. So assuming that by April or July, let's say the crown is completed and the radials can start, our drawing work will be done. So the catch is the land ownership. It's being worked on parallelly. So we'll have to see how many radials can be effectively implemented in one go. And there is one more layer which will come with the DDPs, the clarity on which radials will be motorized and which radials will not be motorized, because we don't need all 10 to serve with motor vehicles in the interest of keeping the city free of motorized traffic. So I would say yes, by July we will be ready to start. The other catch is also that to receive the money we should be ready to implement. Whatever money has been sanctioned, we should not have the money sitting here. So hopefully with all these cases and all this uncertainty and the climate of, contradiction and opposition, let's see what comes our way. We are keeping all of our fingers crossed and doing the work. And if we can implement, we'll just do it.
Thank you. Yeah, you may clap, please. What is the planned timeline for the implementation of the crown? One more question, I guess you answered. Thank you. What is the time period for the completion of Crown Road? Venkatesh.
Done.
You answered, yeah.
Answered.
How is the Crown Road financed? Is it all from the Government of India?
Yes.
This is from Shivaya. Yeah. And a very short answer, yes.
Yes.
Okay. This is unrelated to Crown now. 30 square meters, etc. A shift, yes. But will it be beautiful? Who designs? Sound, air, etc. Who is capable of designing?
This is for the houses or what?
This is for the houses, 30 square meters.
Yes.
Who is capable of designing? In Auroville, I guess.
We will do. We have an open collaborative planning office now. It's, I think, the first attempt since many decades we are doing. We are moving away from people sanctioning to individual architects who just do what comes to them.
Yeah.
And there is a kind of review process, and it's also very faulty but only when the people come in our office and we work together can something really emerge. Can all these questions be asked? Because Anupama is there, Manu has joined us, he has left now, Neil is there, Shailaja is coming on board. And we are hoping that many people who want to work in a collaborative model, that's the place to be. The place to be is ATDC. We are open.
Very
so if they
reassuring.
come, it will work. I think the creative force will just flow.
How will you make sure it is beautiful? I mean, perhaps you will create the space, but how will you make sure it's beautiful?
I don't understand the question.
I mean,
We
the
just
idea
make
is
sure
that
it's beautiful, no?
No. Perhaps the question is that if it is done through floating tenders, so the cost will be perhaps the primary focus. How will you ensure the quality, the beauty is ensured, maintained?
I don't understand this question. We try to do as beautiful as possible.
Okay.
That's our intention. We don't want to make anything ugly in Auroville because Mother said, fight for the truth and fight for the beauty. So we will be fighting for it. We'll try to make it as humanly possible. If it is not beautiful, we break it and build it again.
Okay. Where is the housing? This is related to housing. Where is the funding coming from? Collective facilities? How many square meters per person? What do you say about stewardships? No name.
This is not an easy question. We were hoping that housing could be financed with GUI money, but that is very limited to know. So it will be one, people who have some money to donate for house. Secondly, we are working, and that is not so visible, and actually you are working on it, to increase maintenance and bring a part of the maintenance into some kind of fund, and for that we finance houses. Now that is in development, and we need donations. I mean, we have at the moment an idea to set up a funding cell in the TDC just to get those things going. Mind you, we are only a few months together and everything is rolling in front of us, but the financing part is important. It will be very limited in GUI, mostly in donations and what people can donate, and we are working on a model to get a part of the maintenance into a fund for developing houses. Perhaps there are more, but this is the main thing.
Okay.
And with those maintenances, look, if that is coming, then you get the ability to have loans. And with those loans, you can invest immediately and gradually you can pay them off. Now, in broad lines, you have to think in lines like this.
Thank you. I have a few set of questions from Sat Prem here. Crown, why don't you involve the residents for the DDP?
It's a technical document.
Yeah.
The DDP is a technical document that is being worked out by technical people with the necessary expertise. The master plan already exists, so it will be implemented.
So if there are some residents who are technically sound, are they invited to be part of it?
Actually, what I said before plugs nicely into this. We have a collaborative office. So anybody who wants to participate in the making of the city in any capacity are welcome to come and work with us. So all they have to do is write to us, we'll have an interview, and then we will see in which capacity to take them in.
So anyone who is interested to work on DDP or any aspect of town development,
or they want to take up a project, or
they can write to Avenir at Auroville.org.
As long as collaboration is the motive, it's totally feasible at this point in time.
Thank you. Why didn't you take into account the outcome of the dream weaving?
We did take into account the what?
The outcome.
The outcome of dream weaving. It's been passed on for the DDP work. It was 11 different concepts. So what is very important to understand is the process was very nice, but the outcome was 11 individual proposals. So it was not very woven. So we are weaving now, and whatever is nice and useful and beautiful and groundbreaking or new and innovative, it's all being added. There is no reason for us to leave out any ideas, but it is not that there is one output that needs to be considered and taken forward. There are 11 outputs and there are 11 more sitting in the shelves of ATDC, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So there are about 50 things we have to consider, and this is also being considered.
So it's, again repeating, it's not been kept aside. You have
not at
you
all.
have no qualms in taking the good points from those dream weaving.
Not only qualms, we are doing it actively because as I said before, all the studies and proposals which had been shelved in the past are also being dug up and looked into. So there is no reason for us to not look into this.
Wonderful.
But a lot of the dream weaving outcome is conceptual. So they are ideas. Sure, at this point, ideas are definitely being incorporated as much as possible.
Wonderful. Why don't you involve Aurovillian professionals for the collaboration of the DDPs? You said they are
Yes.
welcome.
Yeah, they are welcome.
Crown Road, in 6 months you have destroyed 1,500 meters of roads and basically built nothing.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Next. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. That's it for. No, there is one more. Wait a second. This is from Satyakam. Presentation of e-mobility is needed. When are you going to do that? Perhaps is not written.
It's a good question. Actually, we are focusing on a few aspects of the DDP which we are hoping to organize a webinar for and present. Actually, it's very inspiring. We showed one of the plans where the movement is caught nicely to Jacqueline, and she was very happy on the side. But we would like, once there's something concrete and ready, we would like to organize a webinar, maybe sometime in February, and show what is the strategy for the transition from fuel vehicles to e-vehicles. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay. So the second addendum to this topic is how effective the crown, the radials will be if it is only with e-mobility. How feasible it is, please.
It's feasible. We have to follow the policies. There will be policy changes also made along with the implementation of these roads. But the more we respect it, the more feasible it will become.
Okay.
I take the opportunity to say also that we have made announcements on children driving motorbikes in Auroville. So it's not feasible if parents keep giving motorbikes to children. But if those things shift out, then it will become very feasible.
All right. The last question to ATDC.
I'm not going to.
Ring Road, a big question mark.
Sorry?
Ring Road. Perhaps when will you implement it? You talked about
along with the radials. The radials and ring will be one thing.
Okay.
Because only if you have the ring, you can access the radial. So the radial and ring will be done in one go. So the western part of the ring, so if you imagine it as a circle, it's
Yes.
not a perfect circle. It's already, there's
It's meandering.
it goes into Alankupam on the western side, and on
Okay.
the eastern side, there is no ring right now. There is no access. So our focus is to implement the northern and the southern portion of the ring.
Okay.
Why? Because the industrial zone and the residential zone are the higher density sectors, zones which need traffic to be fed into them. The other two zones are relatively low density and they can be accessed from the radials. So when we present the mobility strategy, this will become clear. So hopefully in February we will do a dedicated webinar on mobility to show what we are planning and how we plan.
So it's part of the second phase you said about July. So
Yes.
along with the radials, the ring road, northern
Will
and
come.
western will also be
Yes.
planned
Yeah.
or
Yes.
implemented.
Already planned. Implemented will
Implemented.
happen. Yes. Also, there's a survey happening.
Yep.
In March, the entire city survey plus 100 meters into the green belt will be done. Detailed survey. This has never happened before in a large scale. City
Yep.
center is done already. City is being done. So once that is clear, the location, the precise location of the ring and radials will become clear.
Yep.
That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you not ducking any question. A round of applause. Okay, so this I have not, because I just received it, I have not put them into groups. What are the steps taken by FAMC to streamline the guest house assets? By Venkatesh.
Again, what was that?
What are the steps taken by FAMC to streamline the guest house assets?
Guest house assets.
They already belong to Auroville.
Yeah, streamline means utilization or rampant growth of guest homestays. So it was not very clear. Streamline, see, during the use of guest facilities by different people around Auroville. I mean, within Auroville. Well, at this, the way it was structured was that it was an honor system, right? I mean, people register their guest houses and they give their accounts, and some systems were there by previous FAMC, and the guest homestay thing was very rampant, right? Now, we have to see, excuse me, we're trying to also look at a hospitality portal as a whole, whereby we, through technology and through a proper platform, the visitors to Auroville and guests can get more integrated information, and then they can register online, and that can be monitored through our internal financial systems. So that platform is ready. We have to see how to get a steward to, I mean, one or two team people to take it up and move it forward. It also integrates transport from outside, also visit around Auroville, and also guided tours and events, workshops. So it's actually a very integrated platform. It's ready, and we have to start implementing it. So that in a way will help bring in consolidation of the guest services. But streamlining is a relative term, no? And they'll be consolidated.
All right. Okay, you can write to FAMC
yeah, write
Auroville
separately, you can take it up, yeah.
All right, next question, I'm not sure, the first part, it goes like this, see if you can understand. Auroville RA FAMC, if not, why not? I hear in your presentation a lot of collaboration. Why do you exclude the RA working groups? Additionally, you invited individuals for subgroups in FAMC. Did you consider to integrate them?
Anybody individual is invited to work. There is no groups in Auroville except what is recognized by the Foundation Act. I didn't bring the Foundation Act in. Okay, that's there. And as per the Foundation Act, if you see, there are in the Act, two bodies, right? One is the Town Development Council. It is section 17E or something. And then other one is the Funds and Asset Management Committee in the regulations, and that's section 16(1) committee. Okay, it's in the Act and the regulations. So these are not something that we design out of the thin air. What legacy that we have lived with it is something different. And for each of the subgroups, actually that's when I said the rough road, basically first few months was just that, talking to various subgroup and say, look, we have to work with this new modalities. And they say, no, but we are very good working by ourselves. And that doesn't work because there is no collaborative, there is no movement that we need to work together, right?
Yeah.
Because funds and assets have to be working together.
Thanks, Chandresh. I'm going to rush a little bit because
sure,
I have
absolutely.
few questions.
I'm happy. Actually, we can go now.
How exactly do you want to proceed with the purposes? Is there any agenda yet more detailed? It seems your plan is really good, but more detailed aspect?
I have actually, if you go to online on our AuroNet, and also I think it will come out in news and notes, there are 10 areas that FAMC Secretariat, FAMC as a core administration will look into. And each area, task list, task and milestones have been identified. If you look at that, you will get the purpose out of it, how we want to move forward.
Okay.
They were put on bridging maintenance. They were not cut. They were put on bridging maintenance, and the system, that is what today is in BCC. When you shift from one work to another, you put on bridging and you find other work. And there's HRS, Human Resource Service is set up, you go and look for other work, or you find other work with other places. That's the current system.
So they are perhaps talking about working Aurovillians in the other working groups. So because it is not recognized, that's why it's been cut, and it's not abruptly cut, they have been put on a bridging so that they can find work. Yes. Is that it?
That is correct. Because after the TDC lawsuit was squashed, the people who were the TDC, which they were asked to go on a bridging and then transition.
Okay. So why lands are being exchanged without the proper protocol?
What protocol? Lands are exchanged as per the